Welcome to our live panel discussion today on human resources, hiring new talent. This is the motto this year of the World Refrigeration Day. And I would like to welcome you for an interesting exchange to this subject matter. My name is Markus Lattner. I'm the Managing Director of Eurovent Middle East, and I would like to welcome my co-host today, Nerissa Deoraj, Executive Director as well of Eurovent Middle East. Good morning, Nerissa.
Good morning.
So we are looking at a very interesting topic today, and I hope you are prepared.
We would like to thank our event partners for today's event who have helped us put everything together. That's careersbay.com and Climate Control Middle East. Thank you as always for your support.
A few technicalities before we start. As always, our audience is muted. If you want to take part in this discussion, please ask us questions, type that into the control panel in front of you, and we will try to answer as much as possible during the discussion we have. If you want to leave the webinar, then just exit it through the corner of the control panel. And I would like to start already with introducing our panelists. So our president, Mr. Tariq Al-Hussein, he is Chief Executive Officer of Takif as well, has excused himself. He will try to join a little later, but he is stuck in another meeting for the moment. But we have more today. Nerissa.
So I'd like to introduce Ms. Alissa Paille, from the founder of careersbay.com.
Mr. Naveen Sivakumar, the Head of Marketing and Business Development of Danfoss, Turkey, Middle East and Africa.
Hello.
Hi, Naveen. Ms. Roudha Binbauer, the Commissioning Engineer at Petrofac and the founder of Roudha Binbauer Refrigeration. Hello. Hi, Roudha.
And last but not least, we have with us Nodirjon Rasulov, Business Development Manager of Camfil Middle East. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Nodirjon. And please to all the others as well, switch on your webcams and stay with us. So, our first question in this panel would be, why HVACR? Why are you working in this industry? What makes it so special? What are the key benefits you see for working in our industry? And I would like to direct this question first and foremost to Roudha. What made you in your life decide to take this road into heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration?
First of all, talking about being in this region, like the Middle East, this is something really important. And for us, it's not something that is very common. So going into the first step, or maybe introducing this topic as an engineers and technicians here in UAE, let's talk about more locals. It's not very common. And I think it's something really, really important. I'm sure it's something really important. And we cannot live without AC, so this is really important.
And you have not regretted it so far?
Hmm?
And you have not regretted this decision so far?
No, not that yet.
Nodirjon, what made you end up in the HVAC industry?
Well, this is one of the industries which is working towards the sustainability, focus on the sustainability, and then contribute towards the well-being of the human and then inhabitants of any environment. So it makes me feel proud to be part of changes, and then environmental approach and then sustainability approach is developing these days. People are focusing on more to live in a green, focusing on more in a healthy lifestyle. So it is honor to me to be a part of this industry and then to take a part in the towards proper sustainability in the future.
Thanks, Nodirjon. Naveen?
Well, Markus, I think in my case, I think I drifted into this industry 18 years back. I was not planning for an HVAC career. I was more into ships and marine part of the business. But I think 18 years before, I think when I started my journey in HVAC, it was a completely different thing. We were still using CFCs at that time. And then I could feel the potential in the industry. The air conditioning 30 years back, it was more kind of a luxury. It was getting more and more on the urbanization trend was increasing all over the globe. People moving into cities, people getting into the air-conditioned homes. So the industry was changing. The industry was upgrading at all times, and that made me stay. And of course, as Nodirjon said, that then it became, I think, from CFCs, from R1, R11, and R12, where have you reached? And this industry is paying very clearly to the sustainability as well.
I would like to also ask this question actually to my colleague Nerissa. We are both working for this industry from an association perspective. And Nerissa, if you look at the influence and the relevance of our industry for global policies, how does it feel for you being responsible in a way to get these messages across to broader audiences?
Well, like Naveen, I ended up in HVAC by accident as well. It's not my background. It's a very interesting industry to work in. It's very challenging as well. Globally, policy is always something that's difficult to put into place, to have it enforced. I think it's always, it's more, we're very ambitious when it comes to policies. We always have this idea in mind that we're going to be sustainable, we're going to save energy. But when it comes to the enforcement side of things, it becomes very challenging. And I think for us, it's very interesting because we work in a role where we serve the industry. We're not actually working in industry, but rather we are sitting on the outside observing the challenges that are faced by industry, and we are trying to act as a middleman, to help mitigate these issues. So it's interesting for us, it's challenging for us. And I think sometimes more challenging than it is for manufacturers for us to anticipate the needs of industry.
Before we come to a short presentation from Alissa on the salary benchmarks in this industry, I would like to do one more question. The topic of this panel discussion is broadly hiring new talent. So when we think about how we can motivate young people to take this choice to choose our industry, Naveen, what arguments would you tell them? What would be your promotional approach to the younger generation to say, come join and get a career in HVAC?
And again, Markus, I think if we are talking face, nobody, when I was studying in the engineering college, I never heard anybody saying that I want to work on HVAC field. Everyone wanted to go to space, build a rocket, be a part of aeronautical or automobile industry, because those are the visible jobs they see an engineer could do. And this is one of the main challenges of our industry also. The HVAC or HVACR industry are the people behind the scenes. We are people behind the ceilings. We are people on the rooftops, and this is where our industry is. So exposure is what is missing in many colleges, I would rather say. I am sure Roudha also will agree a little bit. We had a discussion on this before. The students in the engineering colleges are not exposed to the possibilities of an HVAC world. What really happens? It's an industry sometimes being taken for granted. You switch on the thermostat and the air is cool and it is nothing to worry. So as manufacturers, as people in the industry, that we need to engage more with the students. As Danfoss, I think we have tie-ups with universities where we do talk to the universities. We do donate to help the lab equipments, that how refrigeration, air conditioning is important, and get them exposed to it. Because trust me, and once they are exposed, they are going to love the industry, and that's what my experience is.
Thank you, Naveen. Roudha, you can confirm to that. Is there something in the approach of the industry to the universities and vocational schools?
Yes, I would like to add something. A few days ago, I asked a question in my social media accounts. I was like, because I'm sure that my followers are, most of the followers are engineers and they're still students. Let's say 80% are still students in universities, and I was one of them. I studied chemical engineering from UAE University, so it's a university in UAE. We studied about cooling, we studied about how the refrigeration cycles are going, but it was just only, let's say, 10% of our study of what we already exposed to as a chemical engineers. And then for mechanical engineers, they're going through also HVAC systems, but it's only one course for the full 5 years. And then when we're thinking about a career, let's say for us, we'll always think about the oil and gas industry other than the HVAC. So I asked the question for my followers, and it was like, if you received an offer to work in the HVACR field, which is refrigeration and air conditioning field, will you go for it? And I received around 143 answers. 87% was yes, I'll go for it. But then I asked another question. So if you had the chance to choose between the oil and gas industry and then the HVACR field, would you go for it again? And they were like, 64% will go for oil and gas, and then the 36% will go for the HVAC and the HVACR industry. And those 36%, I'll just say 90% of them were our students that they were engaged in the Emirates Skills National Competition sponsored by Danfoss, because they were exposed to the HVACR industry. And that's why, if they're, as Naveen already said, that if they were exposed to, they will understand what's happening, they will love what's happening, and then they can choose the field. It's only about the exposure and then the availability of the companies sponsoring the students to go into the HVACR field, I think, in my opinion.
Thank you. Nodirjon, are we not sexy enough, or are we sexy enough but just don't show it?
Pardon?
Is the HVAC industry not sexy enough? You know, like nowadays, young generation, they like punchy things. And
yeah, I would say that, you know, it's a human behavior and psychology. Like what is invisible is indispensable. When we talk about the air, or when we talk about this as air conditioning, feeling comfort of the indoor air quality or indoor environmental quality, we feel like this, like only the temperature focuses, like, you know, room temperature should be minus or plus, whatever. So for that matter, like awareness or what we say, that educational campaign among this, not only engineering, I would say in general, every students, every schools and a university has to be created so that the people can have a, you know, appealing feeling towards the working on this industry. See, being from completely different educational background, after I reached certain level in my career, I shifted to HVACR industry, because during my college time or university time, I've never been given that chances. That is some of the, you know, kind of industry, so where we can do a lot of things, and then it never ended up. I mean, this keeps on, you know, developing, and every day, every second, we have a new things that are coming in. So lack of knowledge, lack of awareness about this one maybe makes the young generation not to be so excited to join on this industry. So perhaps as other colleagues have already mentioned it, like we need to do more towards, like, you know, be connected with the education level, education institutions. Like industry is, as per my understanding and as per my experience, I would say that industry and then education has a gap between nowadays. So there is not much of the bridges happening between the multinational companies towards the young in the universities. In a university, theory is Roudha said like in one course only HVACR covering on the whole HVAC. So if we can approach to the university as a company, as an individual, as an organization, and try to them to look into this fact and matter, hopefully in one day it will be more appealing and then more kind of beautiful things for the young generation to think, to consider, maybe to build a career within this industry. For now, I would say we are lacking of the awareness, and then the connection and gap is there.
Thanks, Nodirjon. Right, then I would like to look into the aspect of salaries in this industry. If we want to attract people, I believe one of the aspects most interesting is what are the expectations and what is the real situation. For this matter, we have invited Alissa Paille. She is as Nerissa already introduced, she's the founder of careersbay.com, which is a recruitment agent focusing a lot on the HVACR industry. For all you of the other panelists, if you could switch off your webcam and mute yourself now for the time of the presentation of Alissa. Alissa, hello, and good morning to you.
Good morning, Markus.
So I would like, give me 1 second, I will see to switch to another presentation. Alissa, if you could, in the meantime, let us know what is your impression of generally of the interest people have in working in this industry from a recruiter perspective.
For the time being, there are so many. We have a lot of candidates basically looking for a job for the HVAC, and this is come from locally and of course all over the world, since I'm recruiting not only for the local market. But since the pandemic, we only focusing for the local candidate. As we all know, there is restrictions for the traveling, so it is quite hard. And I have a few positions, and we couldn't bring in because of course the pandemic. So this is also is a good opportunity for the local based candidate to switch one position to other position, because they have more chance compared before the pandemic. They have a lot of competition. So I encourage candidates, whoever wants to change the job now, this is a time for the local market.
Okay, then I have the presentation of you is running, so I will hand over to you now. You can go through. If you want me to switch to the next slide, just tell me next. And there you go.
All right, if you can see here, these are the salaries from the 2021, and mostly the salaries are the same before the pandemic. As you can see, the medians here, and this is for the multinational company, and completely different with the local based company. The salaries are the same, only some benefits are most probably a little bit changed during the pandemic. Of course, we can. You can go to the next one, Markus. This asks for the bonus, and of course, you can see all the bonus. This is all the average for the multinational company, and again, it's completely different with the local based company.
Alissa, if I may ask a question regarding the bonus system, has there been a change during the pandemic?
The bonus system, basically starting from 2021, the bonus system in some companies, they are still the same. And also some companies, they give a bonus every 3 months, 3 times a year. And some companies, they give a bonus once a year. And they got most probably they receive like 2 months salary in once a year or 3 months. This is all completely different each company. It's just depending on the trends or what. Some company they give bonus but not commission. Some company they give commission but not bonus. This is always a way around. But in the end, we all have the same trends of the bonus and the commission.
Okay, and then you have also brought us an overview of non-multinational companies where we can see salary level is a little bit lower. But generally, you also see from these numbers, these are the results of a survey you have conducted. So this is like average figures, but you see a big difference between sales and technical jobs, correct?
Yes, yes.
Why do you think it? Why are technical jobs so undervalued?
That's the problem. Is that the technicians, basically, if you are talking about technicians, there are so many. As the company, they're difficult to find the technician who meet their requirement. For example, they are very good in skill, but the problem, the barrier is the language. And also, some company, they're looking for some one package, multitask. First, the language, the technical knowledge, and of course, they will build more value if they can have driving license, of course, and a car, so they can move around. That's the multitask. They can pay a quite a good salary for those technicians or mechanical, but for some candidate who just came here on visit, that's the problem as well, because you see the time what they have. For example, they come to here on visit to search for a job. Most probably they have 3 months, and these 3 months, of course, they have only a few interview, and they will take whatever they have in the market. That's also a disadvantage for them. So they have not much choice for this reason.
All right. I would like to go back to the first plate for median salaries in multinational companies. If we take a little bit of closer look here, the average salary for a junior sales engineer is, according to your figures, around 10,500 dirhams a month.
Yes.
Is that the lowest level of job profiles in multinational companies, or do we see even further down?
We can see, this is the survey is, we just take the average, but we have lowers the lowest, like fresher, like that. In multinationals, normally when the fresher, they receive like for currently it's like starting from 8,000 dirham, 7,000, 8,000 dirhams, for fresher. But then, yes, the lowest is a fresher. The fresher.
In your mind is, I mean, this will be a question then also for the panel. Is the industry paying attractive salary levels compared to other industries? do you have like a comparison with other industries? Where is the HVAC industry positioned with our salary level?
Well, if you compare to oil and gas, of course, HVAC is behind. I used to work in the oil and gas sector, so I know how much they're getting. That we are talking about before the pandemic, you know, when oil and gas was still booming and very attractive. But if you're talking about the high level of positions in HVAC, they do give very attractive salary, is with all the amazing package we're talking about, like housing allowance, car allowance, you know. It is also what you can give to the company, and of course the luck as well will be there. Yeah, this is according to my experience in the HVAC recruitment.
Right. Okay, Alissa, thank you for the moment. I will again switch to the other presentation for a minute. Give me some time. And here we go. Good, Alissa, thank you for now. I would like to call on the panel now. Nerissa, if you can take over.
Okay, thank you, Markus and Alissa. So jumping straight into the discussion, we discussed salaries for technical versus sales positions, building on the salary topic. So the question is the region losing out on great talent? I'd like to pose this question to Naveen first. Naveen, if you can join us.
Yes, Nerissa.
Go ahead.
This is a very, very relevant topic when it comes to HVAC as well, and it is applicable for many other business areas as well. I would rather say yes, we are the technical, again, the ecosystem of refrigeration and air conditioning is too varied. It starts even from the smallest, from the wholesaler, the sales guy who is sitting on the refrigeration side, the technician who comes to your home to service your air conditioning, and to the advanced technician who installs carbon dioxide and ammonia systems of refrigeration. It is a fact that I think sales, the salaries of sales is tempting. I'll tell a small story, I think, which I personally know. I knew, I think, a great technician. He was one of the best technicians I have seen. And he was so disappointed with the salary he was getting and the workload. And then he thought sales is a much more easier option for him to get the same thing. So the salary difference between the technician job, what he was doing, and the sales job was almost double. So he shifted to a sales guy. And unfortunately, he was not a great sales guy. So we lost a great technician to a mediocre sales guy just because this was paying more. I would rather say this is something which the industry has to look. But again, as I said, it again depends where in the food chain you belong to. If you are a technician with the modern refrigeration, with the know-how of electronics, with the know-how of CO2 systems, ammonia systems, then my understanding is that then you are in demand. But to reach there is a journey. And the people are losing their heart in that journey to become an expert or a specialist. So my answer is yes over here.
Thanks, Naveen. Nodirjon, do you want to add something to this?
I would say that yes, I agree partially for Naveen and previously other joiners also said. There is one aspect we need to look into in our region, like most of the salespeople in the multinational company in HVACR, they have a mechanical engineer background, some engineering field background. They already, I would say that maybe not fully skilled, but they already skilled technicians. So when they are representing the company to any other places, they already know the technical knowledge to a certain level, and then they know how to deal well with the end customers and all. So here comes a question, as Naveen said, that pointed out, the technicians maybe has to be trained properly, so then further they can be also the salesman. If they are not getting a proper training or proper direction, they might not be a great salesman. Yes, to some point of this, I can do the conclusion like, yes, salesperson with the technical and skills get the more salary compared to others. How this is again, gap is coming up between two different positions in the company. That is why I would say yes, I agree with questions.
We have a question from the audience. Generally, the salaries for HVAC design engineers are very low, and there are job postings on LinkedIn for 5,000 to 6,000 dirhams, but requiring a 5 years experience. How can that be? I mean, how are we treating design engineers with experience and just come up with 5,000 to 6,000 dirhams? Is that something you see also from like your corporate perspective, Nodirjon, that such salary levels are becoming like more normal, that the salary levels go down, that there's more pressure now on the job market?
In our company, we have a little bit different strategy while working on these technicians and then the salespeople, mechanical engineer. First of all, we are defining technician into two different groups, like a white collar and a blue collar technicians. So if it is a white collar technician, yeah, they have a very, very competitive salary, like other salespeople, because they are the important chain of our entire sales order processing. So they will be also given some specific targets to meet up. But when it comes to question only the blue collar technicians, then of course there will be the very big gap. But apparently what the questions saying that mechanical engineer with very good design and all design background and all, if they are getting this much of salary, I would say it is a little bit unfair for them. It's unfair for them presently. So I would rather say that maybe they do not have enough experience in the region. That's what they've been offered, that much of less salary. If they start, maybe it will be the starting point for them. Once they start working and gaining some local experience, maybe they will get the better salary.
Thank you, Nodirjon. And I would like to also forward this question to Naveen. How do you see such job offers for design engineers for 5,000 to 6,000 dirhams?
It is a clear disgrace, Markus, I would rather say. And I've seen this happening in our industry also, where probably the strategy, some of the companies doing this is to take people from the developing countries like Pakistan, India, Philippines, Jordan, Egypt, and try to do the conversion factor over there, the currency conversion factor over there, which probably is a good salary for a technician or a design engineer in those countries, and that is where this disgrace comes actually. I have seen this happening, and which is not fair. But many multinationals, I think I go back to my earlier comment, it again depends on where in the food chain you basically belong to. When you look into the air conditioning companies, the service technicians ranges from smaller companies with 2 or 3 colleagues to the bigger contracting companies as well. And the loser clearly here is the industry, because if you're trying to hire a design engineer with 5 years of experience with 6,000 dirhams, obviously the candidate what you're going to get is not the right candidate. And the stat says that 70%, I mean, as a manufacturer, when we do this, I mean, we do make compressors as well, which are installed. I think 60 to 70% of the compressor failures at sites are due to application mistakes, not because of the problems in the manufacturing. So that is where it leads to.
Yeah, is it something, because you say that, I mean, the manufacturers is one side of the playbook, but the design companies, the consultancies and the contractors are a totally different game. Are we losing out a lot of our benefits of the technologies because of this gap of this of the application side, that there the technology is not implemented correctly because of low payments and necessarily with it losing out on talents, on good technicians and good mechanics?
I agree, Markus, because the industry is changing quite a lot. I think just going back to the compressor issues, probably we have the fixed speed compressors now to the variable speed compressors to save energy, which is quite frequent in Europe and in United States and those countries. But when it comes to this one, the challenge is that if you are having a variable speed compressor, there are very few technicians who can work on it. And in many cases, sometimes we have seen that they simply bypass the variable speed drive to the compressor just to make it easy. But the whole idea of putting a drive is to become more efficient and to be more sustainable. But that is unfortunately happen, I think. And when we are treating the all technical jobs, like we used to tell a joke over here, I think in South Africa, if you have to touch a refrigeration system, you need to have a license, and that license you will get by writing an exam, and this was the system in South Africa. But in many parts of our region, to be a technician, all you need is a screwdriver, and nobody is checking for your systems or anything. With a screwdriver, you can touch any complicated systems. So that is also the other challenge, is the legislation supporting this one. I mean, who is working on our air conditioners? So it is a multi-dimensional question to me.
How can we, what can we, or what can you think about anything we can do as an industry to motivate contractors and consultancies to pay more in order to get better talent in, more higher skilled people?
And Markus, I think, and you are not foreign to this concept, I think, and it should start from legislation as well. I think the certification of technicians is a very important thing. And when you are then hiring a certified engineer, naturally, definitely the cost or the salaries should be higher. And then that definitely, when you are doing a complete, a beautiful installation, then again the customer or the end user is satisfied, and who would be also interested to, I mean, who is also willing to pay more for that. So it is a cycle, and it has to start somewhere. I mean, and I think if you go to many hotels in the Middle East, in many countries, sometimes we doubt that they are confusing refrigeration and air conditioning. The thermostat is set at 16 degrees, and which is freezing, and that is basically the knowledge level, and we need to work from that. Education, legislation, and this will bring more money, I would rather say, more salary, and the industry would be more attractive.
Thanks, Naveen. Well, then let's go to the next question, Nerissa. I think this plays very well into the next part.
Yeah, and I actually saw a question just now from the audience regarding the skill sets. So what educational background is essential to work in this industry? We've heard from Naveen, so let's change it up a little bit. Let's hear from Roudha, who works in industry and is someone who's quite new to this field. Roudha, what do you think is the background that's required based on your experience?
Based on my experience as a chemical engineer, I think that it's a bachelor degree for beginners, for the new talents. The bachelor degree is really enough in chemical or mechanical engineering, because I think that it's the common maybe things that covers the cooling and the heating things, but for electrical is something a little bit not covering. So I will say that a bachelor degree in chemical or mechanical engineering is enough for engineers. For technicians, we still don't have it in the region, and I'll talk about UAE, we don't have, but we have to do something on. And it's happening. To be honest, it's happening. I know that the Ministry of Education is doing something on. And so maybe soon, next 2 years, we will have something related, an educational background for vocational education for technicians. But as an engineers, I think mechanical, electrical engineering, mechanical and chemical engineering is enough for beginners.
Roudha, do you see like the Middle East is dependent on expat workers, given specifically the UAE in this case, with only around a population of 1 million locals. So there's a big dependency on foreign labor.
Yes.
Do you think that this could create a problem, that the influx of foreign laborers is also blocking a little bit the access for locals to this work, to these jobs?
If we're going to talk about the locals going for those jobs, it will come back again for the salaries. If it is enough salary for locals, like everyone knows that the locals are getting more higher salaries. So if it's enough salary for locals to go to technician's job, and it was something a little bit, I'll just say around 20 plus. So it's going to be something enough. It's already happening. There are lots of locals going to the oil and gas industry as technicians and operators, because the basic salary is not that much, but the allowances, like the other allowances, they can reach a very good salaries. So that's why for locals, oil and gas technicians, operators is in demand, but for HVAC technicians and operators for locals is not yet, but they are working on it, I believe.
Thank you. Nodirjon, what's your take on the educational background? What are we looking for as an industry, and do we see this level of background in place?
Well, if we talk about educational background on the HVACR industry, I do agree. I mean, I would say that not only mechanical, chemical engineering, some other engineering fields like electrical also, we do have some engineers who are working in HVACR with electrical engineering as well. So it depends on how we provide training while after we get hired someone in our company. So in our company, in our experience, we will look into not only the intellectual capabilities of the person, but the emotional capabilities also. So once some screening by our HR who's been trained well to select the right people, then the further it depends on every company's how they wanted to nurture the candidate. How they wanted to nurture the candidate. With a simple mechanical or electrical engineering, any engineering field, if we give the proper training after they join, then of course it will be to the benefit of the candidate and to the benefit of the company. So I would say that the educational background is of course important, rather than I would suggest to anyone who's looking into this kind of position and all, to focus on what candidate gives something different. Like in my career, I have seen a few mechanical engineers, they do that their job based on some framework, but we have hired for the same position with a different background, and then that person whom we hired, he started providing some thoughts out of the box, and then this person had added too much of value of our regular sales process. So I would rather suggest, like, while screening some candidates for any kind of HVACR job, we need to not only focus on what we have to get it as a template. We should consider all the aspects, and then we should be really eligible to judge whom we are hiring. Whether this candidate can be good for the company, it can be, a seat a little bit further ahead, not like a job hoppers, 1 year one company, another year to another company. That should be, of course, avoided. Education background is must. Apart from that, additionally, that emotional intelligence has to be also there.
Thanks, Nodirjon. Alissa, if you could join us once more. From your recruitment perspective, what are the backgrounds most in demand? What educational backgrounds are the ones with the highest chances to get a job?
The highest one, of course, for those candidates who has the complete education. So like a part of mechanical engineer, I always choose the one who has an extra diploma for, you know, for refrigeration or anything. And those candidates will always have a better chance, because at the end of the day, when it comes to interview, of course, there are a lot of discussions about their skill and knowledge. So for the skill, the client will not be, you know, only by seeing the CV, it will not justify. You know, the final interview, the client will be able to see that this person is good or not. But mainly for the education, yes, I will choose the first one, mechanical engineer, and plus the diploma, and a lot of candidates, they have extra course in the HVAC.
So that means it's not just enough to have a bachelor's degree in the pocket. It should be also, you should also come up with an additional education, with a specialization, with some sort of certificate to show that you have also have improved and
yes,
your knowledge on this. Naveen,
yes, you see, yeah.
Yeah, Naveen, can you confirm that? Is it something? How is Danfoss going about hiring processes?
Well, I think in Danfoss we are not very particular about the branch of engineering that what we have studied. And again, as Nodirjon and Alissa said, that it's a combination of many things. The engineering only gives you a license to be to understand a system. So and when we are hiring sales and service people, there are two different diameters. Mechanical engineering was the classical choice of all times, but we need to remember the industry has moved on from simple air conditioning systems to complicated Internet of Things, BMS, quite a lot of electronics in those ones. So I have seen some of the mechanical engineers struggling with the electronics of the systems. So this is where and again, I think once you finish the course, I think you just have an understanding of the system. Only when you're working on a site, when you're seeing the systems, then your understanding gets a little bit more deeper. So our choice is out, and as Roudha and as everyone said, that the training, this is what the companies also should do. They are getting a person, I mean, of the right choice or whatever. Then we need to train them, because systems are changing. So we are not particular about mechanical or electronics, but we are choosing engineering for a system because you need to have the technical aptitude to learn, and that is why the engineering is interesting. All the other things, then it depends on which position. Is it sales? Is it service? Is it hands-on? Is it a design job? Then it varies. But my recommendation is who would be the person, let's not stick to one branch. He should be adaptable to the electrical side and to the electronic side as
well. I have still two aspects floating around in my mind. The one thing is that there's this saying, you know, pay peanuts, get monkeys.
Yeah.
It's of course not politically correct expression, but is that something where we have a systemic problem in the Middle East? We are coming. The industry has evolved, as you said very correctly, that it's not a mechanical job anymore, exclusive. We are moving into connectivity, into smart components, building management systems. You need to have a much wider horizon nowadays. And one comment also from our audience was that, for example, on the variable refrigerant flow technology, the people who are at the market at the moment have no knowledge about this technology. As you mentioned before, yourself, they would go and they would short circuit a variable speed drive because they have no understanding of it. Do we have enough knowledge, education, and do we pay the money? So I mean, this for me is a strategical aspect of the situation in the Middle East, where we are actually shortcutted from improvements in sustainability, in energy efficiency, because we do not have the people there.
Because I think this is happening all over the world. I think I'm sure that 30 years back, probably if your car is stopping on the highway, you will open it and try to see where the problem is coming from. Now, if you are trying it, you will see only one simple block over there with no components, and you don't know why you are opening it, because you can understand anything. And it is the same with the this is how the HVAC industry also has moved on. And I would rather say yes, the technical skills, the understanding, the system has become much more wider, and it is talking to each other, and it is talking to the other systems. So it needs a little in-depth technical knowledge, and this is the chicken and the egg story. I think you need to have experience to get a good job, and to get experience you need to work on the systems. So there are cases that in many people in the HVAC industry, very few are actually working on the site. A lot of them are working on the design side, on the sales offices, the service side. But this understanding, and this can become only from, as Alissa said, that extra courses what they are willing to take on air conditioning, refrigeration, and that is basically a chosen aptitude. And then again, how the companies are doing it. And a lot of companies, whether it is Danfoss or a lot of our peer companies, they do have these massive online training courses. And this is where I think, I mean, the industry also should take the wealth. It is not, most of these platforms are not selling. They're not selling. I think, at least in my case, in our case, we know the Danfoss learning platform is not a sales platform. It is to teach the new things on the system. But this is a collective thing. I think the industry has to elevate ourselves. And again, once this is elevated, the many things like what you said, that the paying peanuts and getting monkeys and all these problems will be solved. And then we need to have a legislation. And so it's a combination of many things.
Nerissa, Naveen again takes the lead to the next subject.
So do we actually offer enough education and motivation to work in HVACR, building on this topic of skill sets?
Unfortunately, in the region, no. But we are seeing positive signs, as Roudha was mentioning before. This change has slowly started. The Middle East, I think the Gulf Middle East has always been outsourcing the HVAC part to the expatriates, and they were not paying much attention in-house to this one, and that is changing. But when we go to the other markets, as Danfoss, I think working in Danfoss, I'm exposed to the other regions as well very well. They are doing enough on the education. Again, I go back to the South African example. The schools in South Africa are really amazing, where you can learn a simple system to a complicated CO2 system in additional evening schools. So we were also talking about, I think, that why don't the industry, I think, itself together offer a kind of a training institute, I think, for the technicians as an evening school in our, I'm talking about the simple blue collar air conditioning technicians. And they are hungry for knowledge, because ideally the growth of a technician in Middle East I've seen is that you are coming by, you're getting a job just because you know somebody or somehow you agree to the low salary, and then you are getting trained on the job. You are assisting somebody, you are going to these systems, you understand, okay, this is the compressor and that's the condenser. The condenser could be dirty, we need to do this. And then they get an intuitive understanding of how the whole thing works. And this is the time when we need to push the theory to this, because they already know the practical aspect of it. And then then at that point of time, if you're inducing the theory, why are we doing in this fashion, then you are getting an amazing technician. Because unfortunately, formal education is not happening. Informal education, like learning from the guru, is still happening in the refrigerations or the air conditioning side. So Motivation, yes, I would rather say, because it is, again, many people understand it is an industry which grows. You have enough opportunities. I have not seen many technicians or people who drifted from HVAC to the other industries. People tend to stay, like me also. I drifted into the HVAC industry, but I never left. So there is motivation. It is a wide range. It is an ocean, and the food chain is quite varied. So there is enough motivation, but sorry, Markus, there is not enough formal education offered, and that's something which probably need to address.
Yeah, I would extend this question also to Alissa. If do you see in your recruitment activities that companies are proactively trying to offer education and continued training for their staff? Is that part of an employment package where the people looking for jobs also ask and request further training in the future in order to develop their own careers? Is that a thing?
Yes, that's quite a company. They're offering training, and in fact, I'm recruiting for fresh graduate at the moment, and the company is willing to train, even though the background of the candidate is mechanical engineer, but they are fresh. They don't know anything about HVAC. That's there's a lot of company who also willing to pay the extra course for people who are working for more than a year, you know, because of course the company wants to see the candidate to get more knowledge for the benefit both. So it is, yes, the offering a course for fresh graduate as well, and for people who has no experience. So but the thing is, the candidate need to have the basic education. What I mean is like mechanical engineer, like that, at least they have something in them willing to learn, and they have something basic. This is what the clients always ask.
And is that also then resulting in a higher pay, or is it something where the companies say we try to take freshmen in order to keep the salaries low, and we train them on the job so that they can do the job, but then salaries still stay low?
That is depend on the company, you know. Each company, they have their own policy, you know. But I always encourage my clients to compare, you know, to take one candidate with a little bit extra salary to encourage them to stay, to be loyal to the company, because at the end of the day, we all working for money, you know. You pay well, we stay loyal. That is the fact. So I do have a relationship with our client, and I always give some idea. I give, for example, 5 candidate. See, you want to pay, for example, 6,000, you will get this kind of candidate. But if you give extra 2,000 dirham, you will get more. So you know, you will get more people who has more knowledge and more skill and more experience. So that is, I always consider myself to give extra input to my client.
Thank you. Yeah, Roudha, you have been attending the university, and then you were supported by several companies where you could do internships and undergo some trainings. Are we doing enough in our industry to provide additional education and trainings?
Yes, regarding the educational part. To be honest, I was not going to get any introduction to the industry without getting the sponsors and without getting the companies get involved in my educational journey. So I think we have more companies in the region that can get involved to the educational part, to help the educational part to get more exposed to the refrigeration and air conditioning. But for my, what happens to me that I was exposed to the industry by two companies, which is SKM and then Danfoss. So for those two companies, they really added a lot for me as a student, and then after I graduate, and they're still adding for the company, for the students. So this is what makes a difference when the companies are interfering, because universities are giving something basics, and sometimes the let's say the curriculums is not changing. So the new technologies, the new additions, or maybe something that what's really happening outside of the universities, this comes, here comes the importance of the companies adding to the students. So I think that I believe that the companies getting involved in the educational part is something really important. And then, as they already mentioned, that after getting the employees as graduates, they can go to a graduate program in the companies themselves, like some rotations and then some courses. This really added a lot. For me, it happens in like what I'm doing at Petrofac. We have a graduate program which is for 2 years. Me getting involved in the industry was something little bit difficult, because I was very fresh, I was very new, but now I completed more than 2 years, 2 years and 6 months now. And I'm really, I really can feel the benefit of getting the training by the company itself to teach us what's happening in the environment and what's happening in the real market. So I can see that, okay, I know that the universities or maybe the educational part is not doing enough, but the inputs of the companies and the inputs of the training sessions by the company is adding more than what the universities is adding to an employee. I think that educational part is like reaching a limit after the graduating, and that after that here comes the part of the companies to the employees, where they can help them to learn more and be something really important in the company.
There's one aspect, I agree with you on that part. I mean, there's always a limit also for the educational system. You have to dig deeper in a more vocational type, perhaps even for engineers. They would need more practical approach as well, which perhaps cannot only be offered by a university. But as yes. has mentioned, in other countries, you have the system that every technician, every engineer has to have a certification, has to be approved to carry out the work. Is there is that a task for the governments in the GCC to figure out a qualification system that we ensure that technicians who are working on such essential systems at HVAC, that they are meeting certain quality criteria and educational criteria?
For now, it's not happening. As I was searching before, so I wanted to get some more trainings in the for the vocational side for the HVAC system, but I was not finding anything from the government that can support the vocational education in the HVAC systems. But the new movement now, like more than 1 year, they're starting something, but not yet implemented, but they are still starting something. So what they're adding, that they're adding the vocational educational side to the high schools, from grade 11 and then toward grade 11. So students will get an experience of having 2 years as vocational education in HVAC system, and then after that they're taking it to the universities. And they're doing collaboration between the Ministry of Education and a university called Polytechnic, but it's not yet happened. They are doing it now. So I think it's a very good step. And here comes, I think that it's a big collaboration between the government and the companies will do something perfect, because I still think that even the people that are preparing those curriculums for the government, they need extra knowledge, and they need also extra let's say, experience in the industry, and I don't think there is enough experience for the government to prepare those things. That's why I encourage, yes, that's why I encourage the private sector to get involved. Yes.
Thank you. Naveen, you want to join in?
So Markus, and this is where I would rather say the relevance of an organization like Eurovent coming through, because if the industry has to work together, they need to have a platform, and that platform is sometimes that's not there. As an industry, I think as companies like Danfoss or our peer companies, we do have our vested interest as well whenever we are talking to the governments and all. But as an organization, when you're bringing the industry together under the umbrella of a neutral platform, and this is where I believe that Eurovent should add some value as well.
Nerissa, this is what we are trying to do at the moment, right? Maybe you can give a little sneak preview.
What do you want me to give a sneak preview of? So we do have a training program or leadership academy that's underway. We are currently preparing. This will focus on product trainings and try to provide engineers with a holistic overview of technologies that are available. And these trainings will be provided by our members. So it's technical. It's a bit of commercial as well, because they, of course, have an opportunity to promote their products. But it also aims to address the problems that we see in the market from the manufacturer side, especially when it comes to technical knowledge and specifications. So these training programs will be aimed at consultants, MEP consultants, and engineers. And it's for you to basically learn more about the products that are available, but also to get an overview of the frequent mistakes, misperceptions that we have in the market, and try to shift the perspective of people that are working in the industry to try and empower them and, you know, shift this focus from, I think at this point, people have this idea, or they're very fixed in the way that they approach projects. We see a lot of problems with specifications, copy pasting, without really thinking about what the technology is or what they're actually asking for. So our academy is one of the drivers, or one of the projects that we're working on to try and change these perceptions and better educate the market. So this is one of our biggest targets for this year, and we hope that we'll have it up and running by the fall.
Thank you. Nodirjon, we have been just recently discussing about the academy for air filtration now. When we had this discussion, is that something what we can do as an industry, or what we have to do as an industry jointly together to provide more specific education?
Yes, I totally agree with you, Markus. This is demand for the market now. In general, in our region, especially in the Middle East region, there is a very big gap between universities and then the industry. So in the Camfil, we do a lot of training in some certain universities locally here. And then in our field, like air filtration, this is not even covered in HVACR part of the engineering. They are spending only 10-15 minutes to talk about air filtration and basics and all. However, when we go and approach them and provide them classes on a voluntary basis, it's been welcomed by the universities and all. And then as a result, we could able to sign more than 5 memorandum of understanding with the leading universities in the region to provide the training on a voluntary basis, where we talk about the basics and then where we talk about all the aspects of the air filtration and health effects. And then the initiative what Eurovent Middle East is taking care now on the providing to the industry people for this kind of topics, or some define it I would say certification, or maybe define a program for the industry people, it is very much well appreciated, and I hope it will be appreciated, and then we can do much more on this topic, and then we can add a lot of value for their day-to-day job as well. I totally agree with you, Markus.
Thank you. Naveen, also from your side, I think what you said that this is a joint responsibility of the industry in the end. Huh?
Yeah.
You cannot just sit back and wait and watch nothing happening. We have just a few weeks ago there was a casualty in Sharjah when maintenance people tried to work on a compressor on the roof, and one person died. I think this is too important a topic to ignore. So is the initiative which Eurovent Middle East is working on in the background to come up with a specific training program, education program to increase the knowledge about especially the new systems, the new technologies which come to the market. Is that something which needs to be taken more seriously by the industry, and how can we attract then contractors and bigger consultancies to take a more responsible part in getting their people undergoing continued education?
I agree, Markus. I think again, if we have to look into the systems, I think most of the air conditioning systems or the air conditioning and refrigeration system installed in the Middle East is getting old. So the installations have been happening for the last 30-40 years, and we have many outdated systems all over the Gulf countries. And here comes the potential of retrofit. And retrofit is not to make it safer, and it's also to make it more economical, more viable. We have energy guzzlers, just like that. We do not have these huge gasoline cars anymore, I think, and we have energy efficient solutions. The industry has it. And how can we to educate the general audience or the industry or the government to use these ones, to retrofit, to get more savings? And again, I will say only a quote that I think every company is doing a lot of educational initiatives, and the bottom line is, of course, to educate the people about the product and about the technology, and also to win more business to it. But we need to take it a step more level, and that's where I previously said that as an industry together under an umbrella, educating both sides of the equations. One is the government stakeholders to understand what are the new technologies coming up and how this is economical. This is not about me understanding the air conditioning system more, but how to make it more viable, how to make it more sustainable. And that part of the equation, and to the contractors and to the installers, telling them how this is possible. So this has to be balanced in both the direction. And I fully say that I think, let's say supermarkets, which uses refrigeration, 40% of a supermarket energy bill comes from refrigeration, and that's a huge lot. Globally, 1% of the global energy production, energy consumption is coming from supermarkets. So if you are making these ones much more sustainable, there is a lot of money also to be saved. That's how I see this one. The education is money, because once you are more educated in the systems, what the systems can do, then you are going to save money.
So education is a very good investment, which brings you a return.
Yep, exactly. I would say that is how I see education. It's not about, it's also developing a person, but it's also bringing money back to the economy.
Thank you. And as a last main point, but for sure not the least important, Nerissa, do we have enough women in this industry?
No. It's a resounding no. So how do we empower women more in HVAC? How can we attract more women to technical professions? What's the general idea and consensus about this topic? Let's ask Roudha first, seeing that she is a woman working in industry. So what do you think, Roudha?
See, in my point of view, I think that it's not about attracting women. It's about attracting the talents other than attracting women. Because what I saw, that after my participation and after being there in the industry, I saw more women come in. And like, let's say, for the people that I'm doing the training for, there are around 90% only women. That because they are seeing that it's not something that's impossible, you know, and then they can do something better. I'm not saying that they're doing better than boys, but I can say that they have the sense of making something clean, you know. And then after that, if they have an interest, they will come and then they will make a change. But if they are not motivated enough from inside, they're not motivated themselves enough from inside, they're not going to do it. But um, I don't know. For me, I think it's more about attracting talents other than attracting women, but they are coming. As I'm always saying, it's not only only a problem in the HVAC industry. It's everywhere, you know. It's if we can say in the educational parts, if we can say like pilots, engineers, everywhere. We have this idea that is something hard that women cannot do, but if they can cook, I always say that if they can stay in the kitchen doing the cooking part, it is really difficult. It's not something easy, in my opinion. I just go to the kitchen doing cooking if I have this 100% energy, but I can go to the workshop doing something. I can go to work if I have 60% energy, you know. يعني doing our normal jobs as cooking, being in the at home, cleaning, doing something else is way more difficult than being in the industry. That's in my opinion. Yeah.
That begs the question, and how well can you cook?
Yeah, I'm cooking well.
Yeah, Nerissa, shall we ask Alissa on that? How she sees what is the ratio of women in her recruitment? Alissa, how much are women part of these industry jobs and recruitment?
If we are talking about the management level, yes, there are quite a lot of women in this HVAC industry, and I've been encounter with them, interview with them. They are very good, and they're very high demand in the HVAC industry. A woman, very high demand, but also the problem is when the woman already have one position, is they're quite not sure to change the job, you know. At least they're offering amazing offer. And also we can empower women by giving women more opportunity in the management role, because I feel we are all a woman, we are capable of proving ourselves, but yet there are not many women in senior positions. If you compare, for example, like in a beauty industry, of course, they're all mostly women. But in the HVAC, yes, it's like finding diamond in the ocean. That's why it's very high demand for women.
You mentioned before that women are in high demand.
Yes.
Is so in the HVAC industry? Are employers really proactively looking to place women in certain positions, or do you still come across companies where they say we don't want to have women, we don't trust women? What's your impression here?
I never encountered for a company who said I don't want women now. There's none. Actually, it is very good. The woman is always in a high position. It's not like in a technician job, but in the sales engineer, or in the mechanical, or in the design, and like that. You know, there are so many positions like that. They're looking for a woman, because I feel even woman, as Roudha said, Roudha said that women can do better job. I agree with that, because when women work, they use TLC. So because the same thing like a cooking, we have to use a feeling. That's woman. We have a feeling more than a man. Sorry, I'm not discrimination, but this is real. It's true. It's very true. Yes, woman. We have to give more chance to a woman. As you can see, we are Nerissa, Alissa, and Roudha. We all are women, and we do a fantastic job. I'm sure you agree.
Neutral. Nodirjon, would you agree to that women have more feelings?
Well, of course, I have to. First of all, I would say that the trend is changing nowadays. It's not like there is no differences between in a job. It should be specifically for a man, for a woman. We can see a lot of women are taking up previously dominated by males, and then similarly the many men taking up the jobs which is dominated by females. So what we have to do is that, like, you know, the women in the HVACR industry is others said, like, you know, it is very in a high demand. Of course, right now in industry, if you go to field, it's a lot of male employees are there. So the women is going there on the side and educating them. It will be, you know, kind of win-win situation in terms of sales, in terms of engineering, and all. And apart from that, there are some certain standardization organization in the world, especially in Europe. It's called Gender Equality GEE's Association, who is now started working on the Middle East region as well, to certifying some certain industry on the GE certification. So as per that certification, they are looking into that aspect, like a ratio between male and female, employees in the company. And then, of course, not only the numbers, they're looking into the position as well. What is female's position holding over there? Is it equally treated, well treated, salaries, a lot of aspects they're doing evaluation. If we pass it, I mean, if auditing has passed, then they will definitely certify and they give their GEs. I have to say proudly that our company is GEs certified globally. And now we are planning to do the similar certification to our Middle East and Africa office, which is located in Dubai. We are on the way to acquire that and get this certification soon. In our office, almost, I would say, 40% our employees are females, and then working with them is very good. And there is, as previously all the beautiful ladies said, that they are doing a lot of multitasking. They are very much adaptable doing multitasking. So cooking is one of the biggest multitasking things, so they can apply the same skills in any industry. That's it from my side.
Thanks, Nodirjon. Naveen, if we look at females in the industry, women in the industry, yeah, what's your take on it? What can we do to motivate more, specifically when looking at young talents, like motivating the young generation to get into this industry?
But Markus, I think we need to go a little bit deeper. If I look into Danfoss, we do have a directive that we have an ambition that by 2025, 30% of our leadership position should be women. So this is a commitment that we have taken, our CEO has taken, and we are pushing that agenda very clearly. We have women in Danfoss working at different levels. I think in sales, in service, in service. But unfortunately, the challenge what we have seen is in Dubai or in UAE or in any of the Gulf markets, where it is an expat population. Because these women who are working, for example, let's take an example of my colleague in Turkey. where they are working in the sales side of on the HVAC business, they do have a support system when they are traveling, when they are out at the site, when they are getting delayed at work. And I feel that probably this is some of the things that is stopping back women from at least from the Gulf countries getting into this job. The support was missing in these ones. On the other hand, and I agree with almost all the speakers over here, they're extremely passionate. I think I lead a team of 6 females, I think, and I know the energy and what they could bring. And most of the HVAC companies also, if you look into one level deeper, I think their customer service, their marketing people, their sustainability people, it is crowded with women as well. So we do not have actually a complete missing in this one, but on the visible side of the business, that is on sales, upper management, and on service, we do have a lack. And probably that is also something which the industry has to work on to improve the image that air conditioning technician is not a guy in coveralls and covered with oil and grease and with a hard hat. No, I think these days the HVAC technicians are with a computer or with a mobile phone trying to troubleshoot the problem through the internet. So that image change is also needed.
Nerissa, we are both working for an industry association, so our job necessarily brings us in touch with a lot of different companies and with a lot of different people. In my mind, we have seen over the years an impressive amount of competence whenever we were having to deal with women in our industry. Whenever we had women joining our groups, our discussions, we saw an extreme level of competence. You have started this round to get to network a little bit more with those women we have in our industry, in our association. What is your impression from those talks with them? Can you relate a little bit to how they feel? What would they wish for? What can we do? What can you recommend companies to do in order to get them more involved and get them more also promoted?
Well, I think it's exactly what Naveen and Roger have said. My experience, my personal experience, I mean, I started out as a single female in Eurovent Middle East. I was the only one that used to join our meetings. And then we've seen over the years, the number of ladies that are in the group have actually grown. They bring a lot of technical skill and competence. I've seen this in general discussions, but also within discussions in the group. And I mean, last year I was fortunate enough to sit with them on a more casual and relaxed basis for Women's Day. Or not last year, the previous year at least. No, it was last year. It was before the lockdown. It feels like a very long time ago. Anyways. Yeah. Anyways, the point is, the general feedback that I received from them is that, again, it's just a matter of recognition within companies, recognition within the industry. It's a bit difficult for us as females, and I speak from personal experience. We're not always well received. We're not always treated, you know, like our opinions matter or like our skill sets matter. Sometimes overlooked. And this is just a general feedback. So I agree that women need to be a bit more considered when it comes to technical skill sets. They need to be considered more for management positions because they are very capable. They know their stuff. They know things a bit better sometimes than the males do without discriminating. So yeah, I think this is something that needs to be focused on. And there's definitely an opportunity to do that. So yeah, that's basically my viewpoint. And that's of course, again, it's from me speaking to them. This is the feedback. I mean, they feel like they are part of the industry, but then they are also excluded sometimes by certain individuals not being so receptive.
Roudha, do you think women would need a little bit better networks? among men, it was for many decades, it was very normal. You know, you hang out, you meet for your friends, you talk with each other, you always have friends in other structures, so you have a network you can rely on, you can build on. Is it something which we are still missing in the GCC, and is it something where a pure female communication group, networking group, like we have started last year, unfortunately stopped by the pandemic, but will be revived as soon as it's possible, of course, again. Is that something which could help, which could facilitate the careers, which could motivate women to more in this industry?
In the industry, I would say maybe it is missing, but I don't know. I'm talking generally. In the GCC, we are now way يعني in front of talking about the يعني what I mean that it's now not considerable. Like few years ago, we were always talking about gender equality, and letting people going into, but for I'm not talking about Middle East other than talking about the UAE because I'm more exposed into the UAE things. But now we're having lots of females everywhere. يعني let's say sometimes it's not يعني favorable to work at, let's say, site offshore, but being in high management places we do have, and it's not something not very common. I mean, we're having our chances if we want to do something. For me, if I want to do something, I'll just go interfere and then I'll ask for it, you know, even if no one is, or maybe someone is not appreciating my comments or something, I will just go inside again and do it. We have this confidence to go. A few years ago, let's say 5 to 7 years ago, it was not. But now, after seeing what's happening, the world is changing, and in UAE, it's really changing. It's like 300%. It's not only 100%. Now we have more females everywhere. Now the boys are calling for gender equality. To be honest, yes, it's maybe it's missing from the HVAC. And what I can say that we have to interfere more. يعني for me, I'm not waiting for someone to give me the chance. I'll just go and to interfere to do something what I want to do. يعني. And this is the confidence that we have to build. If I'm sure about what I'm going to say, I'll just prove that it's right, and I'll just go interfere and then I'll prove that it's right. It's not a matter of gender equality now. I don't think it's. يعني it is missing, or maybe we have to give the confidence to the ladies to go and interfere. That's what I think.
I think we agree to that, Nerissa. We need to give confidence, and yeah, from our side, from Eurovent Middle East side, we will promise that we will not let these groups die. That we revive. Nerissa will revive this ladies network again in fall once we see how it can go in a physical level, because I believe those meetings are best done physically, and I believe it was appreciated by everyone, Nerissa.
It definitely was. The feedback afterwards, I had a lot of the ladies coming back. Roudha was there actually as well, but I had a lot of the ladies come back to say that it was well received. They had a good time, and it was nice to actually exchange with other ladies from industry and share not just our problems but also the good points. So we will definitely look at meeting again in the fall.
We are coming slowly to an end of this webinar. I would like to give a last round to everyone, and I would kindly ask you to switch on your webcams, join us here visibly. We have discussed a couple of very important aspects, I believe, today, and the last item I have in my mind is when we talk about the education and training. Eurovent Middle East is working on an academy program hopefully we can roll it out by fall. If we talk about empowering women, providing a network and giving them confidence, we have started last year to form a group, just women only, who are working in the industry, to allow them also an area where they can, exchange freely among each other. How important is, in the end, the work we do as an association? And talking about ourselves is sometimes a little bit difficult. We don't want to go out and say, hey, we are so great in everything. People need to understand what an association is. This is just, in the end, a group of companies, of manufacturers, distributors, some service providers, component manufacturers, who are actually paying money every year to collect in a pool and spend this money to improve something in the industry, something for the society, something for the market. So it's not me and Nerissa who are sitting there who are talking about ourselves. This is talking about Eurovent Middle East, is talking about a collective of companies who are ready to sponsor and finance joint initiatives in order to see some improvements. How important is what we do, and how can we motivate more people to take this responsibility, give a little bit of money for a good cause in order to drive such developments. And I would like to start with Naveen. You are sitting in the board, you are a board member of Eurovent Middle East, and always been a great supporter of such activities.
Markus, I think we have discussed this a number of times, and it is a really important. The industry is at a crossroads now, and the HVAC industry is also changing quite a lot. And the rest of the community, I mean, whether it is students or whether it is the government stakeholders or the other end users, they have to be aligned with this exponential growth in the HVAC. And that's why I think we at Danfoss have always been strong supporter of training and educating the market. But we, as a private company, we have our limitations on that one. But let me say a small quote. I think if you want to go faster, go alone. But if you want to go further, go as a team. And this is where the industry has to come together and dedicate some budget for this resource, because this will ultimately be good for the industry. And when it is good for the industry, it will be good for them, for all the companies later stages.
Thank you. Nodirjon.
I totally agree. And then on behalf of our company, we are happy to work with Eurovent Middle East. We've been a part of so many initiatives generated and then leading by Eurovent Middle East. And then, of course, it is very difficult to knock the door to anyone these days, especially if you're looking onto the changing on the standards, regulation, and all. And then every company will be going with their own benefits and all to knock this one. But the Eurovent Middle East is the platform where every company puts their requirements onto the discussion pool, so that the Eurovent will be not only focusing on prioritize one certain suppliers, they will be working on what is a good benefit for the society and for the country. So I totally agree, and I always encourage all the people, other industries whom I'm meeting, just to join to Eurovent and then to work and to lead with them the change. Thank you.
Thank you. Roudha, how do you see initiatives like Eurovent Middle East? How important for the overall position of the industry, but also for society?
For me, I think that the Eurovent is a collective of lots of opportunities, and I'm always happy. I'm really happy to be part of this, and I'm really happy to get more involved as a link between the new projects and the approaches. If I can, I'll do my best to be part of this one, inshallah, the coming projects.
Thank you, and I want to underline that you are the first honorary member of Eurovent Middle East, and we are very proud of that fact.
Thank you so much. I hope that I have more incomes or benefits to the Eurovent Middle East.
We're very sure about that. Alissa,
I think, yes.
how can people get in touch with careersbay? One of the questions from the audience.
Careersbay is everywhere, basically. If you're looking for a job in the HVAC, we have in LinkedIn, we have our website, we have in Facebook. We are always in the conference and exhibitions. We are tied up with the Climate Control Middle East because we are their partner. So we are very active in the market, in the HVACs. So I am everywhere, basically. It's very easy to get me.
And I would say go to www.careersbay.com, correct?
That's right, yes.
All right. Then I would say, Nerissa, you want to give some final remarks to this discussion we had today?
So I just want to say a big thank you to our panelists. Thank you for the exchange, for your expertise, for your experience. Thank you to our attendees, actually. We received some very interesting comments, which were coming in actually before the questions were actually coming through. And I believe these points were already covered in the discussion. So thank you. It was a very interesting exchange. I think that we've covered a lot of the points. I think we've reiterated the fact that we need to educate the market. It's our responsibility as an industry to empower professionals in the industry. We need to be fair and competent when it comes to salaries. If we are fair, we will get competent people. And also that, you know, women need to be more considered. We are not so marginalized as we are not included, if you want to say it like this. Don't overlook female competence in the market. Yeah, that's the final remarks from my end.
Thank you, and I would like to express my biggest appreciation again to you as a panelists, all of you. Alissa, specifically from careersbay, thank you for joining today and providing this background information on salary levels.
My pleasure.
Very interesting to everyone who is looking for talent. Please get in touch with Alissa. She's a very specialized recruiter for the HVACR industry, has an excellent network. And of course, if you're looking for a position, likewise, I believe, get in touch with Alissa as well and see if she can help you. I would like to thank the audience today. I hope this was an interesting discussion. I'm sure we will follow up on this topic, both from the association side, but also through Climate Control Middle East, through the magazine. And yeah, we will publish the recordings of this discussion of this panel on our YouTube channel. If you are not yet subscribed, do us a favor, go to YouTube and look for Eurovent Middle East and subscribe to our channel. You will then receive always a notification whenever we upload new videos. And I believe we have already collected a couple of very interesting recordings from our previous webinars. So do not hesitate to subscribe to us, follow us, support us, spread the word. I wish everybody a nice day. Thank you for joining today. And I'm looking forward to see you on one of our future events and webinars or workshops. Thank you very much. Naveen, thank you. Alissa, thank you. Nodirjon and Roudha, it was a real pleasure to be with you. Nerissa, thank you to host and moderate this event together with you. Thank you very much.